Good afternoon. Today we are going to continue with the last week's topic, that is about anesthesia. So if you all remember, we had discussed about anesthesia in the last class, followed by the general anesthetic drugs. Now in today's class we are going to discuss about the local anesthetic drugs. The basic difference between the general anesthesia and the local anesthesia is local anesthesia do not cause loss of consciousness. That means the drugs which act as local anesthetics, they are used to block the sensation of pain, or they are used to they causes absence of pain sensation in a specific location of the body without causing loss of consciousness. They do not cause loss of consciousness unlike general anesthetic drugs. They block the impulse generation or the nerve conduction from any part of the body to the brain. That means they block the nerve conduction from the periphery to the CNS. They do not allow the transmission of nerve conduction from the parts of the body to the brain, thereby they thereby they block the pain sensation of a particular area of the body. Now to give the local anesthesia, there are different delivery techniques depending upon how much area has to be covered. Topical administration means it can be given topically and it can be used for minor procedures. Nerve block anesthesia means it is given a little deeper near the nerves. So the nerves, the peripheral nerves will be targeted and it causes a great area of anesthesia. Infiltration anesthesia means that is given, the local anesthetic is given directly into the tissues. Field block anesthesia is given in the subcutaneous layer of the skin. Then comes the spinal and epidural anesthesia. Spinal anesthesia is given in the cerebrospinal fluid, and epidural anesthesia is given in the epidural space of the coverings of the spinal cord. So spinal anesthesia and epidural anesthesia both are given in the spinal cord but in different spaces or different layers which covers the spinal cord. So these are the different delivery techniques which can be opted in order to inject the local anesthesia in the body or in order to inject the local anesthetic drug into the body. Now coming to the drugs which acts as local anesthetics. They are classified depending upon their chemical structures. They are classified into amides and esters. Few important examples are lidocaine, prilocaine, mepivacaine, which are classified under the amides category, and cocaine, procaine, and chloroprocaine, which are classified under the esters category. So these are the few important local anesthetics which are being used. Now we will see what is the mechanism by which local anesthetics actually block the nerve conduction. The basic important mechanism is these local anesthetic drugs. They block the sodium channels. Thereby, they block the conduction of the nerves. So, you must know the importance of sodium ions. Sodium ions are responsible for generating an action potential, or you can say they are responsible for causing nerve conduction within a cell. And these sodium ions, they enter inside the cell through channels which are known as sodium channels. So different ions, they have different channels which are present on the cell membrane. Sodium will have its entry through sodium channels. Potassium ions will have their entry through potassium channels. Similarly, calcium will have its entry through calcium channels. In simple words, they are like gates which are present on the cell membrane. So each ion has to enter and exit through their own gates, through their own channels. So sodium will enter inside the cell through the sodium channels. When sodium enters inside the cell fires an action potential. The cell depolarizes and there will be nerve impulse conduction. Now, for the local anesthetics, we do not want a nerve conduction. So, these local anesthetics, they bind to the sodium channels. So, they bind and block the sodium channels. That means they stand near the gate of the sodium ion and they close the gate of the sodium ion. Thereby, they will not allow the entry of sodium ions into the cell. When sodium ions do not enter or they fail to enter inside the cell, they block the action potential and the nerve conduction will be blocked, leading to blockage of impulse transmission, pain transmission from that area of the body to the brain. So this is the mechanism by which local anesthetic act to reduce the pain in a particular area of the body. Now, what can mixed with a local anesthetic drug to improve or to increase its activity or to prolong its action? The duration of action of local anesthetic depends upon how long it is in contact with the nerve. The longer it is in contact with the nerve, the longer duration of action will be there. In simple words, the longer the time the drug is in contact with the nerve, the longer time it will produce the local anesthetic action. So we can improve or increase its contact time with the nerve so that it gives a long duration of action. We can increase its contact time with the nerve by combining the local anesthetic drug with a vasoconstrictor drug. Vasoconstrictor usually they constrict the blood vessels in that particular area of the body. So they keep the local anesthetic in that particular area of the body for a longer period of time. And also it decreases the rate of absorption of the local anesthetic drug into the surrounding tissues and accumulate the drug for a longer period of time in that particular area of the body. Thereby, they help to prolong the action of the local anesthetic. The most widely used vasoconstrictor drug is epinephrine. Epinephrine is widely combined with the local anesthetic to prolong the action of the local anesthetic drug, and this also reduces the system toxicity because most amount of drug is not entering into the blood circulation. So vasoconstrictor, they decrease the rate of vascular absorption and which allows more anesthetic to remain in that particular area of the body and reach the nerves, and they also improve the depth of anesthesia. So depth is also improved, time is also prolonged. So the local anesthetics, they are combined with the vasoconstrictor drugs in order to improve the depth and prolong the action of the local anesthetics. Which is the most widely used vasoconstrictor drug? Epinephrine is the most widely used vasoconstrictor drug. Now coming to each drug, we are going to see few important points about each drug. The first is Procaine. Procaine was an older drug. Now it is replaced with a newer drug, that is cocaine, or it is also known as Novocaine. But Procaine was the first synthetic local anesthetic drug to be used. Next is lidocaine. Lidocaine, the other name for lidocaine is xylocaine, and this drug is most widely used, especially during dental surgeries. And lidocaine is also combined with epinephrine to give good results. And the advantage of this is it will cause little allergenic reactions. That means allergy will be less and the desired effect will be produced for several hours. And it is broadly used everywhere throughout the world, including the United States. So it is most commonly used local anesthetic drugs and it is combined very frequently with epinephrine. Coming to the clinical uses of local anesthetics. So we are going to see the different types of delivery techniques and the clinical uses together. So topical anesthesia. It can be used topically by direct application to that particular area such as nose, throat, mouth, esophagus or in the genitourinary tract. And this can be used for carrying out minor procedures. Infiltration anesthesia, as I told you earlier, the local anesthetic drug is injected into the tissues. So only the skin will be anesthetized. It will be having a superficial effect only to the skin. Followed by the field block anesthesia. Now this field block anesthesia is given in the subcutaneous layer of the skin and it is used to anesthetize the region which is present distal to the injection. So wherever we are giving the region which is present distal to that injected region will be anesthetized. The best and the most good advantage of this type of anesthesia is less drug will be required to produce a greater area of anesthesia when compared to infiltration anesthesia. So field block anesthesia, less drug will give greater area of anesthesia. Next to the nerve block anesthesia. So as I told you earlier, nerve block anesthesia are those type of anesthesias which are given a little bit deeper near the peripheral nerves, and it produces even greater area of anesthesia when compared to field block and also infiltration anesthesia. What are the different examples of nerve block anesthesia? Now, throughout the body, we have different nerves which innervate different areas of the body. So, depending upon where the surgery has to be performed, that particular nerve has to be targeted and it has to be blocked or anesthetized such that the area which is innervated by that nerve becomes numb or it loses its pain sensation. So if there is a procedure to be carried out in the upper part of the hand or the shoulder, then brachial nerve will be targeted. It is known as brachial plexus block. If the surgery has to be performed on the abdominal wall on the anterior side, then intercostal muscles, the the nerves which are innervating the intercostal muscles, they are targeted, and that is known as the intercostal nerve block. Surgery of the neck, the cervical plexus block is opted. If a surgery has to be performed below the knee or distal to the knee, then sciatic nerve, femoral nerve will be targeted, and it is known as sciatic nerve block or femoral nerve block. Now coming to the nerves of the mouth and the lips and the we have inferior alveolar block and infraorbital nerve block. So inferior alveolar block is opted for carrying out surgeries or for delivering anesthesia of the skin of the chin, the lower teeth, the labial gingiva of anterior teeth and the lower lip. Whereas the infraorbital nerve block is delivered or given to anesthetize the upper area, upper jaw, that is upper lip, upper teeth, nostrils, and the labial gingiva of the anterior teeth. So, these are the different clinical uses and the different delivery techniques of the local anesthetic drugs. Next, coming to the other two types, that is the spinal and the epidural. As I told you earlier, spinal and epidural anesthesia both are injected in the spinal cord. Not exactly in the spinal cord, but they are injected in different layers which covers the spinal cord. Spinal anesthesia is injected into the cerebrospinal fluid of the lumbar region in between the lumbar vertebrae, second and third, or between third and fourth lumbar vertebrae. And this is one of the most common forms of anesthesia, and the lower limbs and the hind limbs are anesthetized with this type of anesthesia. There are few complications of spinal anesthesia. It might cause respiratory paralysis, headache, decrease in blood pressure, and sometimes it might cause an infection, that is septic meningitis. Epidural anesthesia, it is administered into the epidural space. Now, what is epidural space? The spinal cord is surrounded by the subarachnoid space and the epidural space from inside to out. So first, if the inside the spinal cord is present, surrounded by the subarachnoid space, then again surrounded by the epidural space. So in that space, if the local anesthesia is given, then that is referred to as epidural anesthesia. Now coming to the systemic toxicity. Systemic toxicity will be rare in case of local anesthetics, and if it develops, it might lead to lightheadedness, seizures, or CNS and cardiovascular collapse. And tissue toxicity will also be rare unless and until very high concentrations of local anesthesia are given, which are not recommended clinically. So in such cases, tissue toxicity can occur. If any type of toxicity occurs, the treatment or the management will be airway management should be seen, breathing and circulation should be checked. If seizures are there, then seizure suppression should be seen and CPR should be given to the patient. So anti-epileptic drugs, if they are there, can be administered, or the patient should be left so that he or she recovers normally from seizures. You should not constrain the patient while he or she is having seizures. Okay, anti-epileptic drugs can be injected to the patient. Now next, coming to the importance of local anesthetic drugs in dentistry. So as you all know that majority of the procedures carried out in dentistry, they require the injection of local anesthetic drug. Now, how can we decide which drug to be given and whether it should be given with a vasoconstrictor or not? So it depends upon the duration of action required. How much time do we need for the anesthesia to remain in the mouth? The medical history of the patient also decides which drug to be used and the potential drug interactions if the patient is taking any other drugs. If there are short procedures, then without vasoconstrictor, normal anesthetic drugs can be given, such as prilocaine, mepivacaine, etc. But if there are a little bit longer procedures, then a combination of vasoconstrictor should be opted so that it helps to prolong the duration of action. Now, if you remember, you have studied earlier the effects of epinephrine in adrenergic drugs. The epinephrine is not suitable for people who have ischemic heart diseases or a myocardial infarction. So people who are suffering with these conditions, epinephrine is not recommended for them and it should be avoided, and that is why the patient's medical history is very important to know whether he or she is suffering with any other ailments or he or she is on any other drug treatments in order to select or to decide which drug has to be given or which drug can be given to the patient. Next, coming to the other drugs, that is articaine, lidocaine, mepivacaine, all these drugs are local anesthetics and they can be considered for routine dental practices. The most commonly used and the safest drug for all the patients, whether they are healthy adults pregnant patients or children is lidocaine plus epinephrine. This combination is usually preferred for all the type of the patients except the patients who have heart conditions like I told you just now, myocardial infarction, or if they had a ischemic heart diseases. So in such cases, epinephrine should not be given. Rest all, epinephrine is fine to be given. But if a child has come to the dental clinic for any treatment which requires the injection of local anesthesia, then correct dose has to be calculated with the help of the weight of the child, and then it has to be injected to prevent the injection of overdose. So correct dose should be calculated. Always aspiration is necessary before injecting the local anesthesia to prevent vascular damage. Now, according to a article, research article published in Journal of Canadian Dental Association, they have recommended the maximum doses of local anesthetics when they are combined with vasoconstrictor. So these are the maximum doses which can be administered to people with a vasoconstrictor if it is combined with a vasoconstrictor. Next is according to the University of Iowa, they have also given the maximum dose without epinephrine and the maximum dose with epinephrine, and they have also mentioned the duration of action, how much duration of action can be achieved with this combination or without combination. So these are the important drugs, and how much drug should be opted, how much mg per kg should be taken if it is given without epinephrine, and how much mg per kg should be given with epinephrine, and what will be the duration of action. So these are the different doses and the duration of action. So this is about the local anesthetic drugs, how they are acting, what is their mechanism of action, what are the different delivery techniques, what are the clinical uses, how important it is in dentistry, and what are the maximum recommended doses with and without the vasoconstrictor. So I hope it is clear for all of you.